The four-part series that is the International Race of Champions, a pinnacle meeting of 12 of the best in racing. On the pole in today's lineup is Dale Earnhardt, the defending IROC champion, representing the Winston Cup stock cars of NASCAR. In 1979, he was Rookie of the Year. In 1980, he was the champion. Since then, his relentless charging has earned him 4 Winston Cup titles. Bob Wallach comes to the IROC as a rookie from Strasbourg, France. Since 1967, he has been a fixture in endurance sports car racing, winning an unbelievable 4 times in the 24 hours of Daytona. Rusty Wallace took the ASA crown in 1983. The next season, he became NASCAR's Winston Cup Rookie of the Year. In 1989, he took the championship. He starts today in his 3rd IROC series. Dorsey Schrader is a sophomore in the IROC, but his road racing background is long and full of checkered flags. In 1989, he took both the Rookie of the Year and the championship in the Trans Am. Last year, he was the GTO champion. Jeff Brabham is the premier driver of IMSA. This Australian son of 3-time world champion Jack Brabham held Can-Am and Super V championships. With the last 3 years straight, he scored the IMSA GT championship. Mark Martin, representing stock cars, is a short track master with 3 ASA titles. Last year, he was 2nd in the Winston Cup Series by 26 points. He races in his 2nd IROC series. Jeff Bodine earned his way early as a modified champion. Then he moved to the Winston Cup and took the 1986 Daytona 500. He is in his 3rd IROC series. He was champion in 1987. Tommy Kendall, a former go-karter, ripped off 3 straight IMSA GT championships. Then he moved to SCCA Trans Am, and last year took that crown as well. Al Unser Jr. won the IndyCar Championship despite slamming the wall at Nazareth, Pennsylvania last year. Twice the IROC champion in IROC 10 and IROC 12. He has never finished the series lower than 2nd in 5 appearances. His father, Al Unser, in 1987 became only the 2nd man to win 4 times at the Great Indianapolis 500. 3 times, Al's been the IndyCar champion. The senior driver here today, he was the champ of IROC 5. Bill Elliott from NASCAR is in his 5th IROC series. In 1985, he won the prestigious Daytona 500. In '88, he took the Winston Cup crown. In 1985, he also became the only man to win the Winston Million. Scott Pruitt is the current points leader. He gained his entry into the IROC as a road racing champion with the GTO and Trans Am series. This year, he represents the Indy cars. 12 of the best that racing has to offer in equally prepared cars. It's the Dodge International Race of Champions. The engines have started on 12 Dodge Daytonas, ready at Talladega Speedway for the 2nd round of the International Race of Champions. In round 1, it was Scott Pruitt that surprised everyone with the victory. Because of that victory, though, he starts in the last row here and is with Jack Arute.
Well, it may be a long way from last to first, but it has been done before. For you, Scott Pruitt, winning puts you in the back of the pack here at Talladega. When do you begin to make your move here?
Actually, you know, you're making your move all race long. It's really in a situation where you're trying to work your way to the front, because the last 2 laps is really when you get hard to race. If you get too anxious to try and go up there, you end up going right back to the back.
Any major concerns about starting in the back?
Yeah, it's too far back, too far away from those guys. But, you know, it's going to be tough all day long, and we're just going to go out and try and do the best we can.
So Scott Pruitt and the 11 others are set to go racing in round number 2 of the International Race of Champions here at Talladega Speedway. Now, Sam Posey, if Scott is to do well here, he's going to have to fight history.
Well, exactly, because in the 3 IROC races held here so far at Talladega, the NASCAR drivers have had a stranglehold on the competition. And certainly Earnhardt and the others start today as the favorites. But IROC races in recent times have not been as predictable as they once were. Witness Scott Pruitt's victory at Daytona.
Talladega is a super speedway, very much like Daytona. Bobby Unser, we had a great race there. What do you expect here?
Well, Paul, I think the race today will be extremely competitive, and here's why. The track is much smoother, has 10% more banking than the Daytona, which gives the cars more downforce. That helps keep the cars glued to the racetrack. And here, they run wide open all the way around. And the Dodge Daytonas have better aerodynamics for drafting than any car I've ever seen. Now, what this means is every driver should be equal. The difference will be the experience on the banks and how they work the traffic.
So 12 Dodge Daytonas are fired up and ready to go. Let's take a look at the starting field here on the pole. It is NASCAR's Dale Earnhardt in that bright green car, alongside Road Racing's Bob Willick. Back in the second row, Rusty Wallace representing the NASCAR stock cars in the orange car, and road racer Dorsey Schrader in the rose-colored machine. In the third row, Jeff Brabham from IMSA in the red car, and the black car belongs to Mark Martin. The fourth row, Jeff Bodine in the gold number 6, and Tommy Kendall from Road Racing in the dark blue car. The fifth row belongs to the Unser family. It's Little Al in the pink number 4, and his father in the tan car, both former IROC champions. The sixth and final row, Bill Elliott in that bright yellow car representing the stock cars, and Scott Pruitt representing the Indy cars is in the last position. But because they line up in inverse order of their finish at Daytona, we'll definitely keep an eye on the back row as well as the front. The skies are threatening overhead. There's been a lot of thunderstorm activity in the Talladega area, and that will be an added inspiration, as if it weren't already enough with such a short run here, for these guys to move to the front of the field just as fast as they can. Facing a green flag now, Earnhardt, the green car. Bob Willick, who was apprehensive coming into this race. He learned a great deal when he raced with these guys at Daytona, but he's especially concerned about starting on the front row, and he's definitely a factor. Many of the cars behind him and drivers wondering, where will Bob Willick go when the green flag comes out? They work their way through the tri-oval. The green flag flies, and Earnhardt, with a little help from Rusty Wallace, moves into the lead. Wallach drops down into third place.
Well, that shows the NASCAR teamwork, Paul. Did you see Wallace just push Earnhardt right on out there? Look at them right there together. Now, they realize slipstreaming is better than just sitting back there and fighting each other.
Rusty Wallace works into the draft of Earnhardt, raises his hand as if to say, we're okay, let's go.
Plus, the NASCAR men are so used to racing with each other. That's as much of an edge that they have in this race as the fact that they know how to read the draft better than the road racers.
Miles and miles of experience, but look at there. That's Dorsey Schrader that moves up into third spot. Mark Martin runs in fourth right now, and Dorsey is trying to hook onto the back of Wallace. Then just behind Mark Martin, that is Jeff Brabham. Now they spread out.
Now what they'll do is start feeling each other out. Look at
Rusty Wallace comes to the lead. Mark Martin comes up into second place.
Already they're 3 abreast, 4 abreast right there, Paul. That shows you they're going to feel them out and see what they can pass and what they can't pass.
You get a good sense of some of the moisture on this track, too, as they pass over some drainage areas where water runs across this particularly high banking here in Talladega.
Scheduled to go 38 laps. If they go 19 plus 1, 20 laps, it's an official race.
Wallace still runs in the lead. Right behind him is Mark Martin. And here comes Earnhardt now down the inside, and he carries Dorsey Schrader with him. But Al Unser Jr., as we take a look from Bill Elliott's car, he's lined up just behind Scott Pruitt, and you can see the field running ahead. And little Al has certainly worked his way up as fast as he can.
Remember that Elliott started in the back row, so he's been picking off the drivers at each turn. Watch him now.
They come inside Mark Martin, and Elliott seems to be satisfied to let Pruitt pick the way through, so Elliott has teamed up with Pruitt.
In one lap, Mark Martin went from being up nearly at the very front, Paul, second place, clear back to more than halfway back in the field. Now, that's what happens when you lose the teamwork of people helping you with all the drafting.
Schrader comes to the inside of Earnhardt, and he tries for the front of the field. The danger is if you get left out there, you're going to fall way back. Let's see if Schrader has the horsepower.
He's in the wrong place, Paul. He's down out of the groove. He's in the groove for the car, but down out of the air groove, out of the aerodynamic groove. There you can see Elliott, who just goes down to get underneath. Now, as you see, he's got little Al helping him out right now.
So Al Unser Jr. now tucks in behind Earnhardt. Here's two drivers that know and respect one another well, and Earnhardt comes back to the front with Al Unser Jr. just behind him, and Wallace trying to find a clear line to the high side.
Little Al probably feels that he can can team up with Earnhardt a lot better than he can a lot of them, and that's the reason he's sticking with Dale. They raced together in the IROC many laps.
Boy, all 12 of them staying right together now, 3 abreast as they come to the backstretch, working the 4th lap here at Daytona, and one car up against the wall. And boy, he caught it good, and that's Jeff Bodine with Elliott locking the brakes just behind him. He was totally masked there. The yellow comes out. Laps under the yellow do not count. And look at Bodine. He's going to go back and try and get back in this race.
Bodine has had a very physical season of racing in Winston Cup racing. This is just one more incident in a series.
This will be a critical moment because of the threatening weather as they come to the line acknowledging the yellow flag. They still stage a bit of a race trying to get the best possible position that they can. And the pace car is out. The caution flag flies and they slow down here at Talladega.
It's Saturday morning out in the garage. Time to tune up the car for a little spin at about 200 miles per hour. This is the International Race of Champions, and these are master mechanic tools from True Value hardware stores, because around here, performance really counts, and these guys need tools they can count on. So do you. So get master mechanic tools from participating True Value hardware stores and home centers.
The International Race of Champions. Brought to you by Dodge. For performance, quality, safety, and value. Welcome home, America. By Bud Dry. Dry brewed so it drinks light, yet satisfies completely. By Thompson's, the brand to trust for all your waterproofing needs. And by Mobil. Mobil One Synthetic Motor Oil. Isn't your car worth the extra protection?
We're back with the IROC at Talladega Superspeedway, and the caution is still out for the accident, but now there's a new problem. Rain has begun to fall. Now here's a chance to take a look at this situation again. You are on board with Bill Elliott as the field is heading for the first turn, beginning the lap. They flash over some water. Now Jeff Bodine is just down to the left. He's just come under Elliott. Coming off of turn 2, Elliott gets squeezed. The same situation can also be viewed from Jeff Bodine's car. And somewhat embarrassedly, there's Bodine saying, well, I'm sorry about that one. Now, here we take a look at it from the high camera. Bobby Unser.
Now, up on the top, you see Bill Elliott right there, and right next to him is Bodine. There are no problems right now, and it should be a normal situation. Remember, that's the most blind spot that Bodine would have. There's Elliott up on the high side. Plenty of room so far. Now, watch them. They're coming back into the screen. Bob Wallach on the bottom. Now there's Bodine. He's going on out towards the wall. There's the blindest spot in the car. He drifts on out, not thinking that he's that close to Elliott. They touch. Turns Bodine sideways.
Remember, this accident begins at 185 miles an hour, and here, as they sand themselves literally along the wall, they're slowing to under 100. Bodine obviously did not see Elliott, and Elliott had nowhere to go.
Now let's go down to pit road. Jack Arute is with Jeff Bodine.
Well, as the rain continues to fall, Jeff Bodine has sought refuge in one of the emergency vehicles. Jeff, now you've had a chance to maybe let things calm down a little bit. Can you tell us what happened up there?
Just close racing. We came through 1 to 2, 2 or 3, 4 wide. I'm not sure how many wide. Bill was on the outside of me, and I thought I cleared him coming off the corner, and it started just easing over towards the wall, but he was there. And when we touched, of course, it just turns the car immediately sideways and drove it into the wall. Fortunately, it didn't flip, didn't come off the ground. It just slid along the wall, and we kind of got away from each other, and they straightened up, and we kept going. Unfortunately, my car's bent pretty bad. The steering's broke. They're out there working on it. You know, the rain maybe is a blessing. They're going to work on the car, maybe get it fixed so we can go back out.
Well, Jay Signori's IROC crew is all over Jeff Bodine's car. They may just get that car back out, especially considering the rain is letting up. But this gives us a chance to look at some of the great IROC races from history here at Talladega. You ride with Neil Bonnet. Just ahead, that's Derek Bell and Benny Parsons as they slam together. Cars ricochet off the walls. And everybody goes spinning down through the tri-oval at the pit road and across the grass. Fortunately, in this accident, there were no injuries. A little bit later, in the same race, Cale Yarborough was leading. In the light blue car, that's Darrell Waltrip as he sneaks by on the inside and takes the win by a mere 8 inches. One of the closest races in history.
Get
Is gone, the track is dry, and we're ready to continue with the second round of IROC 15. This is the way they will line up as they come back to the green flag on the restart. Jeff Bodine's car, they could not get that machine repaired, but Bill Elliott will start in last place. Watching for the green flag. The green is out. They're back running again. Keep an eye on the front, but also keep an eye on Elliott. As with a little help from Al Unser Jr., Earnhardt begins to pull away. Rusty Wallace closes in.
Al Jr. in the pink car there, remember, has come all the way from 9th to 2nd. His was a terrific charge to the front in those opening 3 laps.
So Dale Earnhardt, the defending IROC champion, is out in front. He, of course, is also the Winston Cup champion. We asked him the difference between running in those 2 series.
I look at the IROC series as the series that are that you want to win. You're racing against the champs, the best of what there is out there in each division. And to win it last year and to come into it this year and have a bad race at Daytona, and you know, I've got to really work hard to overcome everything.
Focus continues here at the front. As riding in tandem, they separate themselves a little bit more.
And keep in mind also, Paul, that Little Al and Earnhardt can only do that for a few laps.
Good battle for second place as Rusty Wallace comes alongside Big Al. Dorsey Schrader tucked in behind Wallace. The fight is for 3rd place here.
On the drafting that you see with Little Al and Earnhardt, Paul, they can only do that for about 3 laps, and then Little Al's engine's going to get too hot.
Martin closes in behind Pruitt as well. You can see that bright yellow car of Elliott has made some headway, but now seems to be stuck trying to work his way up through the field. It is still Earnhardt out in front of Little Al. Rusty Wallace now closes in a bit more. Again, they separate and drive Bobby Unser's amazingly diverse lines as we ride on board with Elliott at the back of the field, trying to move his way up through. There's the camera mounted on top of the car.
These guys are learning an awful lot. Like you see Schrader pull out with Wallace, and there they go right on by Dale Earnhardt, and the idea is you have to team up. You can't ever do those deals by yourself.
Now Al Unser Jr. trying to give Earnhardt a little bit of a boost as 3 of them get together on the backside and 1 upside down. Schrader with a tremendous flip, ricochets off the bank. 2 other cars on the backside, all of them into the bank. Caution comes out once again. Spectacular accident on the backside. It looks like Earnhardt is able to get restarted as the rest of the field comes back somewhat carefully to the line, and Dorsey Schrader appears to be okay as he reaches down and looks for his belts. But he's a bit stunned there.
At least the car is still intact, Paul. You can see it all intact, and he's moving, and that's always a good sign.
With the caution out, the rest of the field strings across the line. We've already seen the elimination of one of the big NASCAR names in Jeff Bodine because his car couldn't be repaired. Boy, covered in mud, looking at the car that is so terribly damaged, but he obviously is unhurt. And here is Earnhardt, the early leader. Big piece of fiberglass flies off that car as he tries to get back to the pits to get a little bit of help. He was against the bank on the inside of the backstretch as well.
Well, you can just see how far these cars slide when they hit that wet grass. It's been raining all day, and of course, a lot of the safety is the fact that it was wet.
All right, taking a look at the situation again. That's Earnhardt down on the inside. And it just seems like at the front of that run, it was Schrader that lost it. And boy, once the wind got under the car, he almost rolled over the top and may in fact have literally rolled over the top of Earnhardt.
Terrifying crash.
Surprising accident. Bobby, what do you think started that?
Well, it just looks to me like it was an aerodynamic thing. I don't see anybody touching anything. You watch as they come down right here. There's Schrader in the red pink, dark red car there, and it just looked like it just started turning. I couldn't see anybody that helped him, and there the air got underneath it. That just shows you how powerful air is. The car is tumbling just like a little toy.
To the good fortune of everyone riding behind, Dorsey did get to the inside of the backstretch and now is on board this ambulance. Of course, they'll make a cursory examination. Dorsey appeared soaking wet but uninjured. In the meantime, they'll try and get Earnhardt's car back into the fight. The fastest race in IROC history was run here at Talladega last year at 188 miles an hour. That won't happen today because we continue under caution. All right, here's a chance to look at this situation again, and our focus is going to be on Dorsey Schrader in the rose-colored car, number 9, and just behind that car, the bright blue machine, number 1 of Scott Pruitt. Pruitt closes in. Mark Martin just behind him. As Dorsey Schrader flips through the air, he comes in contact with Al Unser Jr. Just ahead of that is Earnhardt, who was able to recover the car and get back on the course. Heavy damage to Jr. and to Schrader. Looking at it now in slow motion, Bobby Unser.
Okay, now as you watch, Scott Pruitt was in the middle. Also, Mark Martin could have played a factor in that. He was very close to the back. Now there you saw Scott Pruitt. It starts happening now. He kind of went out of the frame for a minute, but he went up in between the cars. He was trying to find a hole in between. Dorsey Schrader's there. Watch him rotate to the left. Come around, dig in. Now watch the car come back around to the right and start rotating to the right. All done, or at least most of it, with air.
What is unclear as we look at all this is whether or not there was contact between Dorsey Schrader and Scott Pruitt. Now, we will have a chance to re-examine that again as we take a look at Scott Pruitt's onboard camera, Bobby.
Well, as we watch now, Scott is in the number 1. There's Schrader on the right. Right ahead, Scott's coming up. Now he's moving to the left. He would like, he's edging that way, coming back now. Getting behind, still trying to keep his draft real good. It's getting awfully close. Remember, all it takes is a slight touch at wrong angle. Now he's in between. Now right there, it would make you think that it either could have been like 2 or 3 inches either way, Paul. He either touched him, just barely touched him, or didn't touch him at all there by 2 or 3 inches.
Well, the back end was hopping up and down a little bit.
The point is, if he touched him, the touch was so light, it's hard to believe that would put a car like this out of control.
Whatever the cause, it set up a frightening chain of events. Now let's go down to pit road. Here's Jack Arute.
Paul, both drivers, Al Unser Jr. and Dorsey Schrader, have been taken to the infield care center. They've been looked over, and they've just been released. Al, first of all, your condition, and then tell us what happened.
Oh, we're fine. We just spun along the inside wall on the infield down the back straightaway and didn't do anything really except hurt the car.
Well, you're out of the race. Dorsey Schrader, you're out of the race. A wild ride for you upside down at Talladega. What was going through your mind?
Well, it broke a 20-year string. I've been racing 20 years and never been upside down, so I decided to do it in a big way today. I don't know, they turned it around backwards. I got hit from behind and turned sideways, and, you know, I'd seen those guys take off like it before, and I thought, you know, if that ever happened to me, I probably wouldn't like it, and I was just totally right. The takeoff was good as a poor landing.
Well, the one thing that's kind of interesting, though, is you're a laundryman's nightmare right now because he is literally covered head to toe in Talladega mud. But he is all right, Paul.
Rusty Wallace just ahead of Scott Pruitt. You watch from second place as they run back to the green flag out of the second caution period in this round number 2 of the International Race of Champions at Talladega Superspeedway. Watching for the green now. The green's out. Pruitt throws it up a gear. The heavily damaged car of Dale Earnhardt down on the inside, moves underneath Pruitt, keeps the low line, and moves into the lead. Spectacular move.
Yeah, but Earnhardt pulled a fast one. He built up momentum. He came out of the pits as the other guys were crawling around on the pace lap and basically slingshotted by. The issue now is whether that car, which is running without its right front fender, will be aerodynamically fast.
Rusty Wallace comes to the inside. Pruitt to the outside. They split around Earnhardt. Mark Martin comes up, takes third place. Wallace back to the lead. Now it's a battle at the front between Wallace and Pruitt.
I think Earnhardt's deal on the aerodynamics that Sam brought up has been answered already. The car just literally stops at top speed.
Boy, and look at Elliott as he comes flying down on the inside as he gets a little help as well in that bright yellow car. And you're on board with Elliott now as he comes up alongside Rusty Wallace and fights for third place.
Whoa, and that's where Elliott had the problems before, running that close to the wall. Not this time.
So now at the front of the field, Pruitt, followed by Mark Martin, and then Elliott. Once they shuffle their way back to the front.
Once again, Pruitt, a man with only road racing experience, is showing that he can run with NASCAR's best on an oval situation.
Now Mark Martin moves inside of Scott Pruitt. Bill Elliott comes alongside as well. And now it's the stock car drivers back in front again. Down on the inside, that's Tommy Kendall in the dark blue car, a road racer. Scott Pruitt sits above him.
Incidentally, were Pruitt to win again, and I know his hopes don't look like good as right at this moment, he would be the first since Neil Bonnet back in 1978 to win 2 IROC races in a row. That shows you how competitive this is.
As you said at the beginning, this race, IROC here, has only been won by NASCAR stock car drivers. Right now, they lead Mark Martin and Bill Elliott. And Kendall, with a pretty good run, sits in third place. Here on board with Elliott.
Early in the race, we saw Mark Martin go from leading the race to clear back almost to the tail end of the pack, and now he's back leading it. It just gives you an idea how much passing there's been so far.
And to show you how much good momentum did for Earnhardt on the restart when he was able to come down the inside, now you can see that green car is way back there and trailing the field, and for the most part, he's out of the action.
So you can see from that aerodynamics are just still extremely important, because when he lost that fender, he just lost all of his top speed.
Rusty Wallace comes to the inside, trying to put a move on Elliott. Can't get it done. That's Big Al sitting in there as well. As they run 2 abreast and begin to push up, now here is Elliott charging on Mark Martin.
Neither Mark Martin nor Bill Elliott is having a really fine season at this point in their regular series. They would like very much to prove to the teams that they regularly race for that they can win when it comes to racing in identical cars.
For the moment at least, it's the NASCAR boys at the top of the order, running first, second, and third. Mark Martin leads in the second round of the IROC. We'll be right back. Now in that first caution period, as Elliott takes the lead, followed by Al Unser, Rusty Wallace low, Pruitt comes to the high. Remember that Elliott was able to get new tires during the first caution period. It was an accident. He didn't want them on the car. He waved them off, said, please don't put any new tires on here. They did it anyway, and so because it was not his choice, they've allowed him to continue on those new tires.
But these tires are of a relatively large compound. Probably new tires did not make as much difference here as it would, say, in Indianapolis.
Besides them, they're radial tires, and it really didn't make any difference. There was only 3 laps on the tire, so it was all right.
Jay Signori said that these Goodyear tires on these machines will easily run the distance without any trouble at all, so there is no particular advantage to that early on getting a fresh set. Well, these Dodge Daytonas look identical to the ones that raced at Daytona. They are on the outside, but in the engine compartment and working on the pulley system, been a lot of work done by Jay Signori and Dodge on these engines. And Jack Arute has the full story.
Despite the competitive race that we saw at Daytona, the IROC mechanics continue to improve upon their product. And they've made one minor modification to the Dodge power plants as we go into the race here at Talladega. It's been in the pulley area. That's the pulley that attaches to the crankshaft at the bottom end of the engine and drives the belts to the fan and to the alternator. They have replaced this old-style pulley, which was 5 pounds heavier than a new-style pulley, which uses a lightweight metal. It's also a little bit shorter. Now that attaches to the crankshaft and it reduces the overall weight of the engine. Now what does that do? Well, it also reduces the stress on the internal components of the engine and adds to the reliability of each of the Dodge power plants. Now this is a similar process that we see year in and year out with the Detroit automakers as they continue to strive to improve upon the product that they sell to you, the consumer.
Another great example on how motor racing helps improve the American automobile. Now here comes Wallace on the inside as he makes a bid, and he teams up with Tommy Kendall. Will this help? He's not quite as close on Kendall, but now Kendall comes in to help. At the same time, Pruitt closes up behind Al Unser Sr.
2-car draft gives you about 3-mile-an-hour gain. A 3-car or more draft gives you about a 5-mile-an-hour gain in speed.
On board Scott Pruitt. We have 2 different drafts working right now. Wallace has Kendall just behind and Bill Elliott. And this is helping Wallace at the moment as he moves into the lead. But look at Elliott. He's right on the high side, and he comes back.
There are so many variables in each lap, so many different combinations and permutations. The driver can only drive most of this lap on instinct. You can't really plan more than a move or two ahead.
Pruitt has decided to come in and try and run behind now alongside Kendall as he pursues the leader of the race, who is now Rusty Wallace. Rusty just forged ahead of Bill Elliott. The amazing thing is, and you said it at the start of the show, Bobby Unser, is that these cars will be more equal here. But now we're seeing that not only can they run in one draft, but you can have several drafts running side by side.
And you can always see it as they're drafting. Count the cars. By yourself, you go no place. With 2 cars, you do fairly good. With 3 cars or more, you literally fly. So the guys that get out of sequence or don't have somebody else that helps them, just go backwards.
Scott Pruitt got caught out and now has to fall back. He tried to get in behind Bill Elliott, but Big Al wouldn't have any part of that. Pruitt finally found a hole behind Big Al. Rusty Wallace is at the front. Tommy Kendall has been very bright at this, just trying to stay in and hook onto Rusty Wallace.
Sometimes you take the NASCAR guys, they have a tremendous amount of experience with drafting and traffic on the high-speed ovals, and Kendall couldn't do anything better than to tie him to Rusty Wallace. Now, if you watch Big Al, he's been staying right on Elliott all the time, and he just says, hey, this cat knows what he's going to do, I'm going to stick with it.
Kicking laps off well above 187 miles an hour. In the lead at the moment is Wallace. Earnhardt's led today. Mark Martin, Scott Pruitt, Bill Elliott. But Earnhardt doesn't give up. There he is, running in 9th place, well behind the others, and there are substantial chunks missing from his car.
Paul, when Dale Earnhardt came in with his wounded Dodge Daytona, the IROC mechanics went to work patching it together as best they could. Although he's off the pace, he's been wounded aerodynamically. Now, one of the pieces that they had to find was a rear spoiler. They didn't have one down on pit road, so they came to the backup car here, and they simply removed the baby blue spoiler from the backup car, attached it to the lime green car of Dale Earnhardt, and he's back out on the racetrack.
And he continues to try. Trying as well is Bill Elliott. The yellow car moves down on the inside.
Well, as you saw Elliott pull out there, though, you watched Al. Unser just pulled right out behind him. That's teamwork. They realize that they must stay together with it.
Yeah, but the chemistry has changed, and you're looking for new people to hook up with, and that's based a bit on instinct.
Elliott again gets caught out of the line. And look how everybody, no, you're not coming in here, Bill. Again,
sometimes you have to get out of the line, though, in order to cool your radiator, because remember, when you travel right behind another car, you basically get no air over your radiator.
And Sam, especially when you figure back 3 or 4 cars, you're really starving for air. The engines just get too hot that way. And these guys know that.
And as they swap again, it is now Kendall that finds himself in front here at Talladega. Just behind him is Big Al, then Scott Pruitt. Elliott and Rusty Wallace battle it out. Here comes Mark Martin on the inside, getting some help from Jeff Brabham. Again, they're 3 wide at the back going into the corner.
Kendall is the 6th leader in 19 laps. That's how exciting this has been.
Well, there certainly hasn't been a lack of passing. It's been a very exciting race. Unfortunately, we had a couple of accidents earlier, but it's good racing.
So Kendall puts this race halfway into the record books. Al Unser Sr. is right behind him. Then the black car, that's Mark Martin. Scott Pruitt, the winner of the first race, down low. You ride on board with Scott Pruitt. Mark Martin is sitting high to him. And they are exercising a great deal of caution because they've learned, as we've seen, that if you step out of line and nobody will let you in, you're in serious trouble. You go right to the back of the field. Jeff Brabham decides that it's smarter to get over along with 4 cars than it is to run alone. And it pays off for him. Tommy Kendall is still in front, and we'll be back with more from the International Race of Champions at Talladega. We're back as Dodge presents the International Race of Champions at Talladega Speedway, and Rusty Wallace, now with the help of Bill Elliott, makes his bid for the lead. They force down inside of Tommy Kendall.
As you watch, Tommy Kendall went right down to the bottom. Rusty Wallace went for it. He gambled on that being what Tommy was going to do. Left Big Al and whole string up, just going straight backwards, folks.
If you're keeping track of these cars and saying, wow, there aren't quite as many, take a look at all those marks on the grass. That's why there isn't. If you weren't with us earlier, Earnhardt, Dorsey, Schrader, and Al Unser Jr. all tangled on the backstretch and took all three of them out of the competition. Jeff Bodine, in an earlier incident, was also out of the competition. The good news is that they are all right, and our spectators here in the IROC. On board now with Scott Pruitt as he chases Big Al, and they try inside Kendall, and it works for him. Now they have to close up to the leaders, sitting just ahead.
Kendall could not maintain contact with that lead group. Kendall, who's 6 feet 4 inches tall, gradually dropped back. You see him on the extreme right of the screen now in the dark blue car.
The biggest thing I think we saw there was the fact that 3 cars can easily go by 1 car. A guy operating by himself, which was Tommy Kendall.
Now we have 2 great NASCAR drivers running first and second. A formidable situation if you're Jeff Brabham running third. You don't know these drivers. You're not used to what they do. You're there close to them right now, but what are you going to do to try to win this thing?
I think it'll be Jeff Brabham's highlight for IROC races. He's really working a smart race right now, using good judgment.
Bill Elliott is planted right on the back end of Rusty Wallace's car. Mark Martin is trying to get back up into the fight, running a particularly high line, and it doesn't work.
That second group that looked like they were back so far, Paul, that they'd lost the draft entirely. Now look at them. They're right tucked up under again.
Because there were 3 and 4 of them and only 2 leaders. And a chain of 4 cars, as you said, Bobby, will outrun a chain of 2 cars anytime.
So Rusty Wallace is out in front. Bill Elliott rides in second place. The battle is for third as we now put 28 laps into the record book. When you talk about fine-tuning on a race car, it's not just suspension and engine. Any change can make a difference. Here's Jack.
Paul, remember at Daytona, a lot of the cars were developing overheating problems when debris was lodged up into the air dam. And what the IROC mechanics have done here at Talladega, they've moved the screening out flush with the front air dam. That's allowed the air to travel more cleanly across the front of the car. And if some paper does get lodged up there, it's actually moved off, scraped away. It's also allowed more smooth air to travel through to the inside of the car, into the engine compartment, keeping the cars a lot cooler because more air is going through the radiator.
Ever since the debut of these Dodge Daytonas a year ago, they have proven to be a wonderful little race car, most adept at running on the super speedways. All of the drivers really enjoy the Daytona. Now, 6 of them run together here at Talladega, and Rusty Wallace runs at the front. And everyone seems to be in a position of study. What's the guy in front of me going to do? Elliott continues to help Wallace as they try to break away.
I'm interested in Mark Martin running in that black car. He's been all over the track, trying lines high, trying lines low. Mostly it's hurt him. He's dropped way back, but now he's come up, and he's running confidently in this lead group right there in 4th in the black car.
So Mark Martin lined up behind Big Al. Maybe he can convince Al to try to come down to the inside, and they both can take an advantage, or can they split? And of course, there's Scott Pruitt, the bright blue car. Jeff Brabham, who has been so very bright here today. 191.1 miles an hour the last lap. You'd say that draft is working, or
These
what?
are the fastest laps ever run in IROC competition. The cool air, the clean driving by the lead group at the moment is contributing to it.
That is a 5 miles an hour gain from the drafting. With everybody literally lined together, it just makes it one bullet going down the road.
Just 5 laps to go now as Big Al drops off the lead into the back of the order. It is still Rusty Wallace being chased by Bill Elliott. We'll be back for the finish right after this. We're back at Talladega. Rusty Wallace is still out front, and you ride on board with Scott Pruitt. Pruitt, remember, won at Daytona in the first race of the season. It helped him immensely.
It helped me prove my worth again. It helped my confidence. It helped my feelings. You know, everything came together at that race for me personally. Just go out and beat my fellow competitors, because that's the thing that you see. You want to go out and beat your fellow competitors. And I don't care if they're NASCAR guys or IndyCar guys or sports car guys. I don't care who that is. You want to go out and beat your competitors, and that's what I saw going to that race. Not that, you know, Dale Earnhardt was there, or Bill Elliott, or Mark Martin, or any of those guys. They want to go out and beat these guys, you know, in their own backyards. More as that, you know, there's 11 other guys out there with me, and I want to beat them.
The record was set here a year ago, 188 miles an hour. They just cooked a lap off at 192.2, so the average is definitely going to be hot here today at Talladega. Round number 2, Scott Pruitt is still trying to stay with Mark Martin. And if he stays where he is now, it's going to be a very tight points fight as the white flag comes out, and this is the moment of truth. Mark Martin to the inside. Scott Pruitt doesn't help him at all.
And both of them may suffer for the fact that they couldn't cooperate with each other, because right now Bill Elliott is ideally set behind Rusty Wallace.
Well, Sam, you can't do it. Elliott can't do it without a helper. He needed a teammate to get it done. And when they got messed up in third and fourth place there between Pruitt and Martin, they just couldn't ruin Elliott's chance too.
On board Bill Elliott. The closing corners of the race. Can Elliott make his move now? Can he get past Rusty Wallace? At the same time, Pruitt sets up to challenge Mark Martin. Elliott looks for any place on the race course he can. He moves to the outside, moves to the inside. He's going to haul her down close to the grass to see if he can get past. But it's still Rusty Wallace that stays strong and stays in front. It's Wallace, followed by Elliott, followed by Mark Martin, and then Scott Pruitt. Jeff Brabham comes across the line in 5th place. And it shines on our new winner.
Well, Rusty Wallace, the winner of round 2 at the Talladega Superspeedway for the International Race of Champions. Rusty, you literally stayed out of trouble all afternoon, just bided your time.
Well, it really worked out good. I stayed out of trouble, but I had a good drafting partner, too. Bill Elliott stayed right there, and that's really the key, because Bill, he's pretty smart. He knew if he got out of line, the rear pack was going to catch us, and we might get mowed down, but he stayed right there in line, and when Mark tried to make his move at the last lap, you know, left a big gap behind him, and then he knew the only thing he had to do then is stay there, but it worked out good.
Well, the NASCAR boys are still the kings at Talladega, taking the first 3 positions, and then Scott Pruitt as we take a look at the entire finishing order. And in the points fight, well, it is still Scott Pruitt that will remain at the top of the order, followed by Elliott, Wallace, Martin, and then the Unser family. So the fight is still very, very close here in IROC 15. 2 rounds yet to go. Michigan International Speedway and Watkins Glen, New York. Who will come home as the champion of IROC 15? There's a long road yet to travel. Paul Page for Sam Posey, Bobby Unser, and Jack Arute. So long.
Saturday on